I'm all right. Yep, I just gone live on Facebook. I'm live on Facebook now too. Oh, you can go for it, mate. 34? 34? 33? Oh yeah, 34. Yeah, 34. Like your age, mate. Yeah, old mate. Yeah, 7 days. I actually got the week early from a few of my students already, so they can feel I wasn't too early. My students set me up a week early on my birthday. Uh, Vandalized my car. Balloons, streamers. Yeah, because it's school holidays, so I don't see my adults during the day during school holidays. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Yep. That's a car. They're two different cars. Two different cars. Yeah.
Buddy, you're getting your information wrong, mate. A few things have sort of happened over. Well, yeah, a few things have happened over. Well, a big announcement this afternoon. Ty, who was on our show last week, he had dropped that there was 3 guests coming for Queensland Matsuri, and he didn't really hint, but if you had a rough idea on who he had been connected to in the recent past, you would sort of have an idea. And so Hurt from Hoonigan, who drives the RX-7, Rob, who's Chair Slayer, the paraplegic, and then Brandon and Cardo are going to come out for QR Matsuri. So that's pretty big news, and it should draw a bit more of a crowd. It seems like the internet's a bit of a buzz at the moment, with people sort of sussing out if they can either get a spot for the weekend or if they're just going to make a trip up just to sort of try and hang out with those guys. And then IDC was on the weekend, and we had Dale Campaign, the winner of the 2018 DCA season, went over. He ended up qualifying 33rd, which meant he missed out on the battles just. His second qualifying run was really solid. I think he just sort of left a few points on the table. Seems like the Irish really go for overall commitment when it comes to a run, and Dale's run was super clean, but just a little bit safe, and that's probably what's made him miss out on the half a point that I think he missed out on qualifying on. I think he might have actually been tied with the other guy who was 32nd, except Dale zeroed out his first run, so he missed out on qualifying. When they go back and look at who got the highest score. The other thing that happened was Mitch Lana actually took home second. Yeah, second in the championship. Because I think James Dean won the event, and yeah, I think it was enough that Dwayne McKeever stayed in first place, so I don't think Mitch ended up far out, but he 5 events, 5 times on the podium, so yeah, super solid driving from him this year, and maybe he'll be the one to break the curse next year, but the curse doesn't seem like it'll ever be broken if the judging continues to go the way that some of the judging calls went. I was getting messages from this dude over on the side of us sort of being like, what the hell is going on with this? So, yeah. If anybody's on Facebook, if anybody's listening on Facebook, can you let me know if you can hear Logan and EG when they talk? Because I'm getting messages from some people saying that they can't hear them, so I can crank them up if need be. Yeah, it is.
I haven't really said anything yet.
Yeah, but that should remain. Just sit there and look pretty, mate. Okay, jump, mate. I didn't watch a huge amount of the battles. I need to go back and catch up on a little bit of that. But my uploads are going funky. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where it seems like they don't mind people dropping off wheels so badly. Or I know the Forrest Dwayne McKeever battle, they ended up saying that Forrest dropped the wheel in his chase run on the inside of the first corner, and that's why when this was in the European Drift Championship round, and then Forrest ended up dropping wheels and coming off track, so they ended up saying that that's where the mistakes were, but it's pretty minor when you compare the two. So yeah, I don't know. This was the battle in. Yeah, go Logan.
He just kicked up a bit of dust on the inside clip, but Dwayne let him off track at the next one because they both dropped 2 wheels, but Forrest slid off into the grass, and then Dwayne finished his lap. One thing I noticed was that they explained it at the end of it. One judge believed that Dwayne had led Forrest off track, but the other 2 agreed that they went off Forrest just kicking up a bit of dust on the inside was off track. So the bits where they were on track, Dwayne was better than Forrest. That makes sense. They should be all one way or all the other way, like they are in DCA. If you lead someone off track, well, the judges, it's all one way. The judges aren't split on a decision.
Yeah, but that's because the judges in DCA are wankers, aren't they, EG? If he's still there. Yeah. Well, yeah, don't you know, Logan, that?
Yeah.
The hardest part is, though, that you never tell the drivers about the script. So, you guys had flipped the coin, and this dude managed to get the right side of the coin to win the last round of DCA, but he just didn't know about it.
Yeah, I thought the talk was Tom Hemmings had paid enough to get the win already.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I paid enough to get the win, and I wasn't even there. Yeah, that was a massive weekend in Europe. The only other thing was it was formally announced today that the Shanahan brothers will be driving 2 of Luke's car. Connor will be in Luke's 13 Vert that was just built with the turbocharged LS, and Jack will be squeezing his bottom into the AE86, which has now got a 3071 on it. So, yeah, I think it's got a 3071 on it, so it shouldn't be down on power. And yeah, that should be exciting. Jack actually started his career in a car like that, so I think people would think, oh, Jack's too used to his Wisefab and his sequential box and his 2J, but yeah, I think he should do okay in that car. Yeah, I think at this stage that's it. I saw an interesting thing today. Bo Yates is up on the Gold Coast for one of the Toyota parts convention conference type of event, and they've got the car on display inside one of the Star Casino up on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool to see that, and they're giving away a trip to all expenses trip paid to All Time Attack. So it's good to see that that's what they're using for exposure. Me? Nah, I'm getting told that nobody's getting your audio through mine.
Anyone hear me?
The 3 people that are listening, I'm just getting abusive messages from Danielle.
That's normal, isn't it?
Welcome to life. I don't know. All right. Well, let's annoy this guy. How are we gonna start? Well, Mr. 101 horsepower drifter extraordinaire over here. People are still saying they can hear. Oh, okay. It must be the YouTube one, so they can hear me and Logan, but they can't hear you. That's on YouTube. Yeah. So maybe that's what she was talking about. Mate, you're just gonna have to let me take. Oh no, I don't know why it keeps doing this. Nah, everybody's saying that it's. Yeah. Do you even know how to internet, EG? Yeah. My OBS keeps connecting and reconnecting, disconnecting, reconnecting. You sound like you're really far away now. Yeah. Unprofessional. I can hear you now. I can hear you louder now. Right, wait and see what we get given in the comments.
Yeah, YouTube quiet as. Yeah.
Yeah, even mine though, because OBS is weird. I put myself up really high and then everybody else really low. Aren't you IT support at your job, mate? So I'm probably blasting everybody on my stream's ears out.
Does that sound any better? No,
I
it'd
think
only be.
34 other places
It's only
stuff,
OBS. It's a problem with OBS. Does it sound better now?
I think everybody's left. Oh, there. Yep. All right. Rob said, "There we go." Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now we're cooking with gas. Sorry to the YouTube audience who's got the better stream from me, even though it probably drops out every 2 seconds, and we get about 3 seconds of viewing from all of you before you switch off and move on.
Okay. All right. So that makes a bit more sense. Yeah. No, because I mean, doing some recording on OBS, and I've set up 2 separate tracks. I think I explained that in a different video, but I probably haven't made it public yet. So anyway, we'll get back to it. We'll get back to interrogating Logan. Or actually, we haven't even started.
Yeah, we should get into the
We
interrogation.
were planning. We were just talking about how we're going to plan to do it.
So, Mr. Logan,
Yes.
probably one of the younger guys, I would say, that did multiple rounds of DCA this year. At 21 this
Yeah.
year, right?
Yeah.
They're probably one of the younger dudes for this year. You've been involved for a fair few years now, and sort of came in with an interesting car choice. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown on sort of what your introduction to drifting was, and then what your background in motorsport was before you sort of started making decision on cars?
The first time I ever saw drifting was at Iron Park, and Dad used to take his rally car out there, which was ironically another Datsun 120Y.
Is that
And
an orange one?
no, it was white.
Okay.
There is a photo of it in a Drift Battle magazine, which I do have somewhere.
Okay.
It's got a wheel in the air and good handling, not really. And then sort of growing up, sort of always interested in cars. Family was always interested in rallying. I started doing the infamous 101 car. I started doing carnacross on the dirt in it, which is why it's always a bit higher and rougher. And then a mate said to me once, "Oh, come out, try the wet pan," which led to a night out on the wet pan, which led to bring some tyres and try the figure eight out, which led to a year on the figure eight. I think every driving sports event I attended that year. And did 2 South Circuit nights through Hi-Tech, just the practice ones. And then I did a Matsuri at Rally where I smashed a quarter panel in on it against another car. And then I decided to build another car specifically for it, even though still low powered. And then in the middle of building that, Mr. Pro Drift over here, Gerg, approached me out of the blue, and I didn't even know who he was at a Hi-Tech event when I was watching, asking me why I wasn't out there. And that sort of was a bit of a kick in the bum to also get myself sorted and get a car that I can compete in. And then from there, competing in the Super Drift series in the 101 car, and then halfway through that season I finished off my current car. But the night we finished it, the next morning at 5 o'clock, we left for Queensland to compete at the State of Origin drift event last year at Archerfield. And the car, well, that had a few issues that day. And since then...
Yeah, just a couple.
Yeah, like build a car, put the radiator in the back, drive it for 10 minutes, pull the radiator out of the back of it and all the hoses off it and make a radiator fit back in the front of it. Because the hoses, we were assured by the guys that sold us the hose that it would be good for the job. And I think it got to 60 degrees and the hose melted.
Oh, shit.
We were told 200 degrees Celsius and 200 PSI. And we questioned it multiple times, and I said, "Yep, that's the stuff." So for the rest of that event, we ran around with the bonnet about half a foot up from where it should have been, with an R31 radiator in the front of it, and that was only possible because Luke Fink, being the guy that he is, offered up a radiator out of a car there for us to keep going. And after driving all day on the Saturday and then all night, and I think I made it to top 8 in the competition and went one more time with Jake Thornbury and then I spun in front of him, which lost me the battle. And then finished off the end of the Super Drift series, no results really, except for at the end of it, I got 3rd place in the championship. I'm not sure how many guys did all the round.
I think it would have been a good 10 or so. I think did all rounds or majority of the rounds.
Yeah.
So yeah, still a pretty solid effort, and shows that consistency is the key, and just actually showing up and collecting as many points as you can. So you don't have to be on the podium every single round or any rounds, that as long as you're getting good consistent results. I think you're did you come top 4 at all, or you just mostly
I
on the
came
back edge of?
top 8 was the best I came.
But most of the time you're top 8, I'm pretty sure.
Top 8 for the last 3 rounds, top 16 for the first round.
Yeah. And the first round was the most entries we had, so yeah, it's not really a surprise.
Yeah. But I was go.
So when you decided to stop using the Carnacross car and build the other car, what was sort of your intention with that car?
Well, at the time, the iTech series was figure 8 only, except for I think they did 1 round at Adelaide on like the banked circuit there. And the idea was do a couple of Met series, all the local stuff, not really competition stuff, and maybe have a go at iTech. But then being conned into going up to Queensland as soon as we finished the car. DCA seemed like a pretty good idea, and also the Super Drift thing if it was to happen again. And then, yeah, there's something I could compete in that was a little bit more competitive, as opposed to something where you just hold it flat and hope it's okay-ish to watch.
Yeah, and then not have to complain in closed groups to the judges that they should be nice to you because you got 101 horsepower.
Yeah, I didn't care. I got off more on the fact that it pissed people off that I'd rock up there with it. Which, after rocking up to a bunch of figure 8 nights and getting a heap of dirty looks, people started to half smirk at it, so I decided to put a love heart tip on it, and that got people frowning at it again.
We're talking about the car or something else?
Nah, something else. The car.
So, one of the other things Greg was asking was, your backgrounds was originally from rallying, wasn't it?
Yes.
So how long were you doing that before you moved into drifting?
Probably a year or so.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't that long.
But, well, family's always been into it, but I haven't driven in rallies, but I've navigated in rallies from probably a year before starting to be interested in drifting to currently still navigate in cars.
Okay.
But the Carnacross stuff is sort of, it's like, for instance, like locally, like a figure 8 practice night. It's sort of like the stuff that leads to when you get around to it, you go and then do like a competition like Super Drift. It's sort of like the Carnacross is like coming through the ranks type of thing for rallying.
Okay.
Equivalent-ish.
All right.
Sort of short sprint.
Okay. Is that what you were going to... So say if drifting didn't come along as
And do you think that background in another form of motorsport sort of helped you... Well, I guess it was, number one, it's seat time, but just already have a fair idea on car control, throttle control, and all that sort of stuff compared to what a lot of the guys who sort of just jump straight into drift and think that it's sort of stay pinned and hope to make it around the track doing a rolling burnout?
It definitely made a difference, and especially in the car that I learnt to probably drift in, it probably made a difference because the way you drive that, it's sort of, you got to come in hot and be committed at the start of the corner or well before the corner is even in sight. You've got to be committed for it. Like, on the dirt or circuit racing, you can get to the corner and sort of turn in, but on the dirt, everything happens like there's not really grip. So you've got to be committed before it and set up for the corner, which helps when you want to drift, say, a low-powered car. You can't just come in like a turbo car and sidestep the clutch.
Yeah, that should be the case for both, though. I think they're just sort of relying on the power.
In a car that's only got 100 horsepower, if you sidestep and a very small gearbox, if you just come into a corner, sidestep the clutch, you put a gearbox in it. But
Yeah, but if you're in a turbo car, then you should come in hot anyway, and then because you've got so much power, you should be able to push around there. So I think they're just
more
being
comparing
weak.
it to like the guys that just sort of jump in a car, as opposed to sort of my background of more seat time than learning to drift, as opposed to you get your license on the road and do some dumb shit in an industrial area and then
Yeah,
go onto the track.
yeah, yeah. That's one thing that really sucks. When they do that, it just promotes sort of the wrong idea about drifting when they do that.
Yeah.
But it's a good way to cover up a mistake.
You can't tell. It's just lots of smoke. That's why.
Yeah, pretty much.
It looks crazy from people that don't know about drifting.
Yeah.
So do you want to run us through the new car? Well, run us through the old car a little bit, because I don't even know what engine's in that thing. And then sort of after the amount of driving that you've done in that car, what you did differently on the new car, and what you sort of went with, and why you went with the stuff that you did, power plant, suspension, layout of the car, all that sort of stuff.
The car I learnt to drift in, they come standard with an A12, which is a 1.2 litre pushrod 4-cylinder. And we put the bigger 1500cc variant in there. And it's really high compression, the 85, big carbies, and it only made 101 horsepower. But then it had shortened steering knuckles in it. It had lengthened control arms. It had a big gearbox in standard, even though it was still tiny. It had disc brake rear end conversion. We put a hydro in it. It had a modified CAS 1.5-way LSD center made to fit a Datsun 1200 Ute diff in the back of it. The car's gutted. It had Bilstein shocks all around in it. And then to go drifting, experimented with flipping some of the leaves upside down and clamping them back together to get it lower and stiffer, and shortened front struts in the front of it to go drifting. And then looking at other guys just being able to buy stuff off the shelf. For the new car, sort of done some research. 1 or 2 people have done it to just put SR20s in Datsuns and use the whole Sylvia crossmember to go from steering box to steering rack as well. So the new car got S13 front end, crossmember, steering rack, knuckles, arms. In the front, I went with the GK Tech Superlock arm because it was... I didn't go a knuckle as well because at the time they only did a 5-stud knuckle, and you can't really buy small wheels that are 4-stud. So did that. It's got S13 brakes, coilovers, bolt in. With little work, you can make the cross member fit. The rear end was just a kit that I could buy off the shelf and get parts for to suit an Escort rally car, and made that. Had to fabricate that into a Datsun, and then it's like a Aussie S12 Sylvia diff in the back of it. Just welded up. It's then got different brakes on the rear of it off the different, like a Nissan Bluebird, which is in between like Datsuns and newer Nissan stuff. The radiator in the boot come from, originally it was going to be turbocharged, the KA, and to move the intercooler away from the front of the car, and also weight distribution. But then we just stayed NA because why? Why not? It's got an RB30, RB20 style gearbox in it. And it's got an 8-point tower-to-tower cage. It's probably a similar-ish weight to the other car. Even though it's got bigger stuff in it, it does have a lot more cut out of it. And then the KA is pretty high compression. It's got Webers on it. It makes just over 200 horsepower at the wheels, which is enough in a small car.
Do you know how much have you put the car on scales?
Not yet.
Yeah, you've never put it on scales yet.
No.
Ah, Jesus, I thought you would have had access to all that sort of stuff with all the rally cars that you guys look after and would have checked that.
Weight's not too much of a big deal because with the rally stuff, you make some things lighter, more panel stuff. If you can buy fiberglass, it's lighter. You buy that sort of stuff for like Lex and windows, but when you lighten some parts, it's more or less to make up for reinforcing or having stronger suspension in the cars.
Yeah.
So the cars don't really get lighter. They normally just get a little bit heavier. And when they get rego and whatnot, they get weighed when they do brake tests and whatnot. So we don't really need to have that equipment.
Yeah. So you reckon you're not far off what probably a stock car is?
I think about 900-ish.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty good power to weight then. Because then you also get the cornering speed, cornering benefits from a light car as well.
Yeah, well, the car would pull up a lot faster than something even a little bit heavier.
Yeah, I think the car would benefit also at times from being probably 200 kilos heavier. And sometimes it would benefit from being the weight that it is. Okay. One thing it does have, or one sort of issue it's got handling-wise, is you've got to throw it really hard because it's got a lot of side bite, where if it was heavier, it would probably push further. So you can come in really committed and really late and pull the car up. But if you want to enter really far back, it's a bit of an ask for it because it sort of pulls itself up before then.
Easier to tell you're just not going fast enough.
Oh, but my biggest complaint from him on comp day is it's too fast.
Nah, before entry, you're talking before entry, mate.
It's quick. It grips up and just sort of launches out of corners. That's what I noticed. Do you feel that in the car?
Yeah, at Mount Gambier is different to, say, Archerfield or the Figure 8. You would notice the speed of it probably a bit more, or the grip of it more on the Figure 8 or on a bit more of a track where you sort of accelerate and pull up, as opposed to Mount Gambier's sort of more maintaining speed.
Okay.
Yeah, Mount Gambier, it's so smooth with how you sort of carry speed through the whole track, and then the last corner's slow as hell no matter what sort of car you're in. You've got to check the speed right up and then just quick stab of the clutch to drive out of it. So I think that's probably a pretty even playing field no matter what sort of car you're in on that track. So,
well, the issue with the car being light at Mount Gambier is you've got to throw it quite hard over the crest because otherwise it sort of just tries to straighten and such.
That's because, you mean like going uphill?
Yeah, when you enter and then you flick it back to the left to come over the crest, you've got to flick it really aggressive. Otherwise, it'll try to straighten up or not run the angle that you want it to run.
Yep.
Which when I was there, that's the first time I'd ever driven that car that fast.
Yep.
So it was quite daunting for me to try that.
And it's more apparent with the weight of the car being so light.
Yeah, if you were like watching videos from the bigger cars, they seem to carry the line better. Where my car, it sort of fights itself.
Okay, so you really have to push it out longer and deeper and things, rather than sort of, heavier car, it kind of like floats over there.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. So there's like benefits and downsides
catch.
to having a light car. Because generally, I think that a light car would be better overall. But
Yeah, it's probably also to do with I don't think I drive on throttle enough either. Not experienced enough to really know what to do with it.
yeah, okay. Sorry, more practice.
Just wait. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say, but what's this? The driver saying that they're not the world's best, even though they're a national round winner?
Trophies don't mean much.
I know.
There to have fun. If you get a trophy, bonus.
It'd be the weight thing really is an interesting question, and sort of after bringing it up, it is an interesting topic because I was watching some coverage from the last round of FD at Texas, and Dai Yoshihara still gets to run a really big tire because he still runs his FT86 really heavy, where Odie Bakshish keeps his car a little bit heavy, even though he knows he could pull more out of his S14 to try and stay in the slightly taller tire category. But he's also been trying to collect data to see if he was to strip some weight out of the car and go down to a smaller tire, whether or not which would be most advantageous. And yeah, it's interesting when you sort of speak to somebody like you who does have a super light car and is forced to run a smaller tire in most of the series. That there are pros and cons to it. So it'll be interesting to see moving forward what even the FD guys are doing, considering it, at a much different scale, but is still the same sort of problems that they're trying to, overcome or just make decisions around.
I think if you're doing tracks that you don't really accelerate and decelerate a lot, like what was the track they did recently? It was really fast through the whole section.
Yeah,
Texas.
or both Texas and St. Louis were both like that.
Yeah, if you're not really changing, if your average speed is quite high and you're not changing, like say a track like Archerfield, you would want a light car because you go fast, slow, tight corners, where if you're doing more open stuff, a heavier car is not really a disadvantage because you don't have to pull it up and you don't have to get it back up to speed. So a heavier car would probably sit better at a higher speed constantly. But if you've got like if they were to run Long Beach, you would probably benefit from a lighter car, but say on the bigger tracks, you would benefit from a heavier car.
Yeah. But even those tracks, it's interesting purely because most tracks you're going to slow up for the last section or have a major slow up at some stage. And as you said, if your car's pulling up a lot sooner, but then again, if you go too heavy with a car just to run a bigger tire, if that tire can't outgrip what the weight of the car's doing, it's still going to want to feel like it's going to push you off track, where I think as you gain more experience, you'll find that you're just able to commit to throttle a lot longer or left foot brake and commit to throttle for longer. And you can probably place the car a little bit more where you want it.
More around the issue as such.
Yeah, where you probably find somebody like, say, a Jackson Snell in even in the VE Ute, when he's throwing the car's going to sort of, no matter how much grip or how much he sort of wants to press on the brakes, the car's still going to want to push a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's just, again, seat time and all that sort of stuff where, your S chassis are just that happy medium already. Straight down the middle when it comes to weight in all categories. You can run that medium-sized tire in any category in the world that runs tire rules that are specific to weight, like a DCA or an FD on a much larger scale again. So, yeah, it's interesting. But then you watched the IDC stuff over the weekend too. The guys all running AE86s over there and then running massive wheels. Is an interesting one. Do you find the short wheelbase? I guess you haven't driven much other than a short wheelbase, but do you find sometimes even the wheelbase is a disadvantage?
Yes and no. I think it's probably more driver preference. Like some people, like I can drive my car and make it really snappy, or I can drive it and make it really lazy.
Yeah, but
That
inherently short wheelbase is normally more snappy, whereas a long wheelbase, because it's stable at highway speeds, is kind of lazy when it steps out and doesn't snap as much. You can still get to go quickly, but it's just like it's one of the advantages of having a long wheelbase or short wheelbase cars. They're either snappy or they sort of really lazy transitions.
Yeah. Well, when I put the rear end in the new car, I probably lengthened the wheelbase 15 mil as well, because I knew there's probably about 100 mil or more difference between Sylvia and my car.
100 mil. Oh, okay, that's not too different.
It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is compared to a K7 or a AE86?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it develops. Would you ever consider putting some ballast in it just to see how it handles with, another 200 kilos or something in it?
Probably not. Not unless it got more power. I think that's the downside to going heavier in my case, is I don't really have the power to turn the tyre with more weight in it.
Yeah.
It would affect the way it sort of spins the wheels. If it was turbocharged, yeah, I'd probably be down to put 300 kilos in the back of it.
When?
Never.
When?
I bought a turbo, I bought a computer, wastegate, intercooler, other stuff, and sold it all.
Oh,
yeah, because you wanted to upgrade to a Borg Warner.
Nah, upgrade to twin webbers.
Nah, he wanted to go bigger. Or he's just going to put on a 200 sort of nitrous and try and blow the head off it.
No.
Come on, mate.
I think if I was to ever chase more power, it'd just be a bigger Nissan engine. Still NA, but...
So what, you got to put a bloody RB30 or an RB26 in the car?
No. It would have to be all alloy if it went bigger.
I don't even know what.
Not an alloy tech, but they're rubbish.
I don't even know. Is the VQ alloy?
They are all alloy. And they're actually 10 pounds lighter than a KA.
Oh, interesting. Okay. What about a VK?
They're a little bit heavier, but they would be worth it. But
well, there might be some modified VKs coming up for sale at some stage if a certain race team doesn't stay Nissan for any more than next year.
Yeah, I don't think I've got a house deposit for an engine.
Yeah, but I can't imagine the Kellys are going to hold on to that stuff. They're going to want to palm off all of that stuff.
Well, they're still running the cars.
They're still running it this season coming, but the following season, I would imagine that they'll be looking to jump ship if
Super 2 categories.
Yeah, maybe, but most of the teams now are running Super 2 cars themselves, so they'll probably keep data and do something. And if some some drift kid from out West Sydney wants a modified VK that makes over five, I think like 500 or 600 horsepower, they are, wouldn't be a bad. Yeah, it wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. So he's considering it. Don't forget, he said maybe.
If I had the budget, yes.
Maybe some TV time will
Oh.
give you the budget.
Yeah.
Well, this is
Maybe.
another topic we can get onto at some stage soon.
Here we go.
He's been having dirty thoughts, this boy.
Yeah, the benefit of also putting a bigger engine in would be having to run a bigger gearbox and getting more weight in the middle of the car.
Yeah, because at the moment you're very front and very rear heavy, and there's not much going on in the middle because you run a gearbox that's the size of a couple of cans of Coke.
Yeah, but my car's only the size of a 6-pack of Coke.
Yeah.
It is. It does have a cage in it. It's about
Do you feel
it. It's got a cage, a seat, and a harness.
Do you feel like you're starting to find the limitations of what the car is, or do you feel like you need to go and drive a few more events and sort of explore a few more different tracks to see sort of what your limitations are?
I think without playing with the setup of the car, which I only did at Cash Kings and round 3, without playing with the setup of the car, I think I've found the limit of it, how it is now. But playing with the setup of it changes it again as to how it handles, how it drives. And there's still one or two things I'd like to do in the front of it that I reckon would make it feel better.
Yeah.
What are you considering?
Well, I run offset rack spaces at the moment. I think I need to go and get rid of them and get the rack moved forward.
Yep.
But moved forward more than the spaces are because it does get a bit of bind on full lock.
So is that just to remove the bind and somehow pull more lock out of it? Is that the
Not
idea?
pull more lock out of it, but get the lock without the bind.
Okay, and that's it.
And having no rack spaces is sort of one less thing to come loose or one less thing to try and fold the end off a couple of $100 worth of Sylvia rack.
And so
Yeah,
what
you
are
still
they-
have you still have some sort of rack spacer, but yeah, it's
an inline one is way better than an offset one.
yeah.
And also a misalignment kit because I think it does have a bit of bump steer over bumps, which made the car a bit uncomfortable in the front end when we ran the Cash Kings layout.
Where did you find that the most?
Over the bump with the outer clip near the wall.
Oh,
The
going backwards through the fast line.
Yeah, it felt uneasy in the front, which, yeah, very ugly feeling when you're trying to drive a car.
So this is
Yeah, and considering that's probably the
hairpin, isn't it?
no.
No?
So where the sort of traditional parts of Archie are, where
Yeah.
you can sort of run through the bus stop and all that. For Cash, so you guys ran the fast line, sort of the more traditional way, running it clockwise for DCA, and then for Cash Kings it was run the opposite direction. And yeah, the cars got really unsettled coming through across in front of the pits, and then just before they had to transition through that fast line next
Yep.
to the islands, yeah, all the cars sort of came through a fairly heavy unsettlement through there.
Okay.
The car is fine through the bumps. It's the bump steer as such. When the front is going up and down through its travel, it makes it feel odd.
Yeah.
But the week before in round 3, over the bumps, the car it handles awesome over it, and the bump was more the middle to the rear of the car as opposed to the front of the car. So it just felt, it didn't really feel like an issue.
It's interesting. How soon do you think you'll get working on that?
Probably over Christmas.
Is the carport coming apart or something, and then you're doing some sort of freshen up before another event?
Uh, I'm looking at probably one or two events, maybe before the end of the year.
Yeah.
But in that time, also just some stuff on the car that probably should be done a little bit different. Got to look at fixing that and also getting a better gearbox sorted for it, since the old faithful that let me down at Cash Kings broke.
Oh, so you had a failure.
Yeah,
Oh, bummer. No, I didn't hear about that.
yeah.
He kicked the shit out of it in front of Harvey, and the car died.
I didn't even kick the shit out of it.
Sounded like it.
Oh, in the car, it sounded like it was trying to kick itself out of the side of the box. But
Yeah, well.
And then he got to go all hairdresser spec, and at the time he hadn't had his fresh trim yet, and he got to drive his new favourite car.
350Z, Luke's one. Oh, leather
look,
seat, standard seat belt, no roll bar or roof. That feels so safe.
nah, there's little roll hoops.
Yeah, no. If you're as tall as me or you, your head's still going to hit the ground first.
Yeah, but you just get pushed into the footwell, so that'll be alright. There's still room there.
Yeah, your neck will just get, your head will just get pushed through your neck, and then your neck will get pushed into your
Nah,
your back,
body's
and then,
all
then you'll be
attached, so
pushed.
you would just like push down. Like as soon as it hits your head, your shoulders would go down, and everything would just naturally just flow into that footwell.
Yeah, definitely no compression of your spine or anything. EG's a doctor.
Yeah, don't worry about it. You didn't die, did you?
No, didn't
No,
die.
And
yeah, it's fine.
and you weren't the sketchiest person to drive that car on that day.
Oh, I find that hard to believe.
No, there was a Queensland driver who drove it who was, I would say, a lot scarier than you. Who's a lot more professional than you.
I think I remember watching that lap. He was still committed.
Yeah, and I think maybe too much grip. I think you drove it after that too.
Yeah, it had way too much grip, I thought, for the way I was trying to drive it anyway. And I've never drifted anything else, so that was quite odd.
Would you recommend as another car? Because Greg's looking at some of the Zeds online to see if he can find one cheap.
Definitely make it stiffer than what Luke's is.
Oh, you didn't like it?
Once you were sideways, any adjustment in the steering, it felt like the car was trying to seesaw like front to back and rock. It just felt weird.
Yeah.
Felt like a boat.
Power wise and everything else is.
Power wise, it was fine.
Yeah.
I could get my head around that and the weight of it. But I think Luke mentioned too, if you dab the foot brake whilst on throttle, it takes the throttle out of it, like it's like a higher go-kart.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, which was, being that I learnt that afterwards, it explained why you could be mid-corner and you just a little bit of foot brake and it'd just die. But also the handbrake didn't really work on it either.
Welcome to borrowing Luke's car.
I think
Yeah,
it
you've
sounds
had
like a good car for Greg. No foot brake, so no brakes, no handbrake. Yeah, lots of steering.
I'm pretty liberal with the foot brake. It's the handbrake that I tend to rely on way too much. But I get scared when I start getting thrown around in the car.
You get thrown around less if you hold onto the steering wheel. You do know that.
No, I got a deep bucket seat for my fat ass, so I don't physically get thrown around. I just get scared when the G-forces push me around.
You need to come for a run in my car one day.
Yeah, you told me I'm not allowed to drive it yet.
I didn't say drive it.
Mate,
As a
you
passenger.
said you didn't want to put 200 kilos of ballast in it. You better leave me out. Hey, but you said you wanted more weight over the middle of the car with a bigger gearbox, so here I am to test out weight in the middle of your car.
Yeah, how about we try that?
Last time I was in the car, it got crashed into. Did we hit or got hit?
Who? Me?
No, in
Oh, Logan.
Logan's car.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, Mount Gambier. When I think people spun in front of you on the hill, and then you spun too, right?
Yeah, I think Troy was in front, then guy from Melbourne, I think straightened, and then Shanahan in Luke's old S14 ran into him, and I think Greenhill sideways ran into the back of him, and then I was sideways into Greenhill.
Welcome to Trains at DCA.
Yeah, I'd even watch videos and go, I'm not doing that. That's how crashes happen. And
There's Trains at DCA is like peer pressure drinking. You just don't have a choice.
yeah,
It's
very
so much
dangerous
fun, though.
also. Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
coming over the crest once, and there's a car facing my way as I was sideways going over the crest. That was pretty sketchy. But it'll be fine.
All right, so yeah, just
No one died.
We just need more of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and DCA trains are better when it's not like Archie and everybody just sort of gets into continuous laps. That needs to be like proper stop, and then everybody goes at the same time and just drives in as hard and fast as they can go. Not QR Matsuri style trains with 18 car gaps between them or other events. So I guess moving forward, what's your plans? What's your goals? What's the plan for the rest of the year at this stage, and then where are we going to from there?
Possibly a drift school day, just to sort of drive the car. And also, it's pretty good practice just being able to follow someone around the track all day. Just sort of keep your eye in. And then I've got to work out if I'm going to have the money for it yet, but go to Spawn the Drift 2 at Port Macquarie. Went to the first one. It was an awesome event. And just eats tyres. And then probably next year try and do the DCA State Series at Archerfield.
Any other plans?
Probably try and get to a round of High Tech and a round of Vic Drift
Is that this year or next year?
next year.
Okay.
Yeah, no real budget for this year.
Okay.
Unless you win your way through to a wild
There's-
card, considering wild cards seem to get handed out like they're going out of fashion.
In high tech.
Yeah.
Well, you never know.
Yeah, there's a wild card at Spawn, but there's like 60 guys that go. So
Well, how do they pick it? Is
If
it
I-
just picked at random, or is it a?
I think they get a bunch of people. They work out if they were to be given it, if they will definitely go,
Yeah.
and then they narrow it down. I think they pick a bunch. They have a certain criteria. I think some of them that they mentioned, the first Spawner Drift was like professionalism on the day, how they present themselves, their car,
Oh, you're
their
done, mate.
events and whatever.
Not happening
Yeah.
for you.
I haven't set too many people up on social media.
No,
lately.
I just meant looking professional.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
should
not
get a
with those.
haircut before it.
Yeah, but he wears a race suit. I think he's one of the few guys I see that wears a race suit every time. And his car's all pretty and stick it up and things like that. So I think the presentation's good.
Nah, he is a good boy. He is a good boy.
Sometimes.
No, not your mouth, but
No, it's not my mouth, it's my thumbs that get me into trouble. It's online.
yeah. But he's pretty well presented, and he was good with the fans down at Mount Gambier, and I think that's the first time you've had that much interaction with people in that sort of setting, which was,
Yeah.
I think, probably an eye opener. I think Mount Gambier is probably, anybody driving the DCA series, Mount Gambier is probably the most eye-opening experience, because they're not your traditional motorsport fans, because they just don't get much going on there. You get a lot more kids and a lot more sort of just randoms that come just for for a day or for the weekend to check it all out, and you sort of get a little bit more of a raw experience with people, and you can sort of, I guess, put on a little bit more of a show, whether it be on the track or in the pits for people.
Yeah, one thing I learnt too growing up, going to the speedway, and at the end of the event, being able to walk through the pits and everyone just being like, "Oh, jump in the car." The driver will sign stuff if they've got posters or whatever, and you can talk to the drivers and the crew. I learnt that as a kid that meant a fair bit. So now that I'm in their position as such, offering the kids to hop in the car, talking to everyone, it's more or less you just get to talk about yourself and make yourself feel good, as well as everyone wants to ask you questions. Everyone, like the kids, you get one or two shy ones that don't want to hop in the car, but most of them go, "Oh yeah, hop in the car." Parents take a photo, and the kids will remember that. And the kids are what brings the next generation of the sport, if that makes sense.
That's true.
But yeah, the crowd at Mount Gambier is definitely, they're not the usual type of crowd. They're more just people having a look as opposed to motorsport people.
Well, they're the crowd you want, and you would hope that you could get at other events. But I guess being a small town and it being a novelty is easier. But that's the sort of crowd that ideally drifting would get at every single venue, because people are just curious to go and see what drifting is all about, rather than always picking from the same pockets, whether it be a party event or a competition. It's ideal that we're sort of picking from other people's pockets rather than the motorsport community.
Yeah, I think that's probably one thing that hurts Sydney is people go out to watch a drifting and they go and watch people on the wet pan, which are beginners learning, but then a competition will come around and they've seen drifting before, they don't really like it.
Yep, that's pretty standard.
That could be the same as a competition too. No, okay.
Hey, the last round of Super Drift was pretty good.
No, I was talking about something else, but that's all right.
It had some really good driving.
No, I was just talking about. I was kind of suggesting Wakefield, but that didn't come out right.
Yeah, nobody's going to drive all the way down there, and the locals hate motorsport. So
no, Wakefield's got a new manager now. He's actually really good. So I was down there on Monday, and it'd be good to see if some of his ideas actually come into place.
Oh, anything that the internet can be told about?
I guess. Well, I don't even know. Like, he wants to. Actually, don't know exactly. It's more like ideas. So, there's an idea floating around about filling in the gravel area behind the pits, like the actual garage, pit garages, with concrete. And so then, with me thinking about that, I think, well, you could actually do skids there maybe. But it's not something that I said to him. But, just coming up with ideas, as well as apparently some other guy is actually putting a thing together about track improvements, but I don't know exactly what that is, but it sounds like it should be pretty good, like as in I don't know. Yeah, he didn't say any. There was nothing specific said, but it sounds like that it would be something significant. So I'm just speculating for most of it. It
Come
sounds
on,
all
mate.
positive.
You're supposed to be on our.
Though. I think
he's happy with the drifting.
I think there's a lot of issues with the council. So until things are actually on paper, in writing, signed off, I don't think he wants to say much. But yeah, he's working hard to get things improved. So should support him.
So Logan needs to get down there and do a Wakefield event.
Yeah, one day.
I've never been.
Revo in November, mate.
Never been as a driver.
Oh, okay. You should get down there. Do you think that track's interesting or not really? Not your style?
Oh, never really thought about it like that. More just a weekday. Just yeah, more too busy, or I've just used all my money doing another event to be able to fund going down there.
Okay.
Because an apprentice mechanic doesn't exactly earn a terrific wage to go motorsporting every
No,
weekend.
you probably don't get. You probably get affected by taking leave as well during the week.
Yeah, and the times that I didn't know it was on, then I found out about it. It was too short notice anyway to get the leave off for the day.
Okay.
Don't you work for your dad?
Yeah, but when you booked out for a couple of people to be working,
Hey, you can go home and work for the rest of the night after a Monday event. I'm sure your dad's more than happy for you to go in there all night.
nah. I'd rather have done
Lazy.
properly during the day.
Bloody millennials not wanting to put in any extra work. He goes quiet. He's like, nah, it's like I was born in the 90s. I'm a 90s kid.
Yep.
Only just.
Well, a
Only
couple of
7.
years.
Far out. It's so young. No, Wakefield's a good track. You should try it if you can. There is a Revolution Day. I think there might be a big push for everyone to go because it'll be the last day for the year at Wakefield. Besides High Tech, whenever that gets announced.
I don't even remember the date for that one because then it's in November and that's when Spawn is, Spring Jam is, and then so is the Bend event.
Oh,
I think
okay.
Spawn is the 10th. Spring Jam is the 3rd. I think High Tech was the 30th. 30th rings a bell. I'm not sure. There was something on around, and I think, and the 17th is the Bend.
Wow. So pretty busy weekend then, or pretty busy month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting, and then it'll be interesting to see how many cars are still alive to do the North Circuit event. Oh, that's what we didn't bring up in the news. North Circuit event entries open on Stadata Day, I'm pretty sure. Is that right? 29th? Saturday 29th. So if you want an entry into the North Circuit at Sydney Motorsport Park, it opens on the Driving Sport Facebook page. Logan's going to save his pennies, ask his parents for his entry for Christmas.
Nah, I'll be away.
Oh, yeah, sorry. You go on beach bum it. See, lazy millennial won't even come back for skids. Yeah. You don't need to tell me twice about that sort of shit.
It's normally a given with you. You don't even have to mention it.
Don't say that with the week that I've got coming up. So
You just pick one event within a 3-month radius of when you've just got it fixed, drive it, and then take it back and fix it, don't you?
yeah, pretty much. Dale was asking if I'm going to do North yesterday, or I will be doing North as long as my car is in one piece.
Is it running?
Yeah, I need to do I was planning on doing a bit of a test clutch slip at some stage in the last 2 days, but I've been snowed under. But I have tomorrow afternoon off, so the car may come off the trailer, and as I'm moving the car off the trailer, it might find second gear and a clutch dump on the way, and I might see if I can catch the brake at the same time and just see what it does.
The brake to stop the car, yeah.
Yeah, because and I just get
accident.
nervous and I leave my and then I'll accidentally keep my foot
He's not.
planted
Greg's
to
not
the
very
floor
good at
with my.
driving. Yeah.
Nah, I'm really not. Hopefully, I can shake it down on Saturday night. I can shake it down on Saturday night, but I'm hoping it'll be dry. I don't really want to go out there if it's wet. So, because I want to put some load on the car. So let's see what happens with that.
That's why you try third or fourth gear in the wet.
Yeah, nah, not gonna bother. I'll come out to your yard at the workshop and do skids if it's wet.
Yeah. Block the block off.
Pretty much.
A square block.
So, are you going to stick with the current platform moving forward? Do you think it's a competitive platform that you can sustain long term using the 120Y, or do you think eventually you'll have to start looking at something else? Or it's not something you've really even thought that far ahead about?
I've thought about like a car to run a bigger tyre, bigger power sort of thing, but it's more money as such. At the moment, I can go out and do a figure eight night and use 4 tyres if I want to, but if it was a 400 or 500 horsepower car, you sort of use 2 tyres in 2 minutes, and then it becomes a very expensive car to run. So it would be, if I was to possibly build another platform in the very, very near future, it would be a very limited use thing unless someone was offering to fund it. Mm-hmm. But I think the car for now, with me still learning how to get out of it, what I want to get out of it, it's good enough as such. And for DCA, it's not a bad car. I think what lets me down the most would be driving. So learn to drive it a bit more, play around with it, and then sort of go from there on if I need to invest in something else.
Yeah.
Say if you were given the opportunity to drive an event like World Time Attack or similar, would you actually consider turbocharging your car or making some power changes?
I would, but yeah, sort of budget. Like if I was offered the spot to drive and I had enough time to sort it out on my own, I would. But after the event, I would probably pull, say, a turbocharged car. I would pull it all off and make it NA again for general use, but still have all that stuff there to bolt onto it and drive it in a bigger event with more power as such.
Okay. Why would you have those thoughts of increasing the power? Is that just to keep up, or just because of the caliber of cars,
or more it's just a faster track in a higher gear, and you need more grunt in a higher gear to turn the tyre to keep up. And then the fact everyone else is on such a big tyre that's heaps softer as well.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever tried running? Yeah.
Okay.
No, I was just wondering, have you ever tried running a wider tyre and seeing how that affects your drifting?
I haven't tried a wider tyre. At Spawn the Drift, I did try some 14-inch semi-slicks, which were 195 still, with really high pressures, but it didn't affect the car too much as such. I think it actually felt really good to drive still, but with stupid pressures in the tyres, it did actually make it greatly reduced the side bite of the rear end of the car, but it had heaps of forward bite.
Okay.
But I'm not sure how that goes on a bigger, faster track.
Yeah, I think it'd be a matter of taking something like that down to a Wakefield and giving it a go, and even doing sort of over the top of the hill rather than doing short course and seeing how the car reacts rather than always being on sort of second gear go-kart tracks.
Yeah.
Because one of the interesting things that I've seen is people have had what would be probably considered low power, like 200 kilowatts and below, and they've run 265 street tires though, but they're 265 wide, and they were getting more grip that way, and capable of spinning those tires. And it seemed interesting that they were able to do that. So I've never tried running such a wide tire, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see if anyone. Yeah, so I thought maybe you might have, just to try and test the car out.
I think possibly going from a 195 to a 205 and going down in the pressures that I would normally run, I think would probably be a similar thing to what you were just saying.
Yeah.
Like spinning a lesser grip tyre, but because of the car, it's still a very quick option as opposed to something that's too sticky, which you sort of probably can't spin up as such.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how I cheated at Super Drift. I ran 265s.
Yeah.
Adam at my disposal. It was open widths. Go crazy.
Didn't stop you flying off the track at one of the rounds.
No, I think he's too busy reading a message or a comment or something.
My stuff just keeps dropping out, so I miss half the conversation still, and then my stream goes funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to change the router that I'm hooked up to or something like that, but yeah, I get huge intermittent dropouts.
Oh really? It's completely smooth from here, I think, from what I can see.
Yeah, it looks like the YouTube one's fairly smooth, but I don't know. I'm imagining the ones watching Facebook, the whole one person is probably like, this sucks.
Are they still watching it?
Yeah, there hasn't been many on the Facebooks. Thank you to
Okay.
our YouTube viewers who, yeah, they want to see us in high definition on their big screen smart TVs.
On YouTube?
Yeah,
No, I'm not running HD anymore. Well, actually, no, I am. Only 720p though.
mate, that's enough.
At
That's enough for our fucking heads.
at 700 kilobits per second, which is really low.
That's all right. That's all right.
That's as much as my internet can do.
Yep. Sorry, guys. You're shit out of luck.
Yeah. Okay. I have no questions at the moment.
Somebody's saying EG wasn't even on the facey one. Yeah, EG's head just keeps dropping out.
My head drops out.
Yeah, I don't know. As I said, I'm just getting weird stuff going on.
I have a feeling it's because
kinda
I'm transmitting, like I'm broadcasting to YouTube, and that's why it's taking priority over Skype.
Yeah, probably. And you don't drop out on your one.
No.
Connor said he's watching in VR, so he's just getting a full face of everybody because he loves it.
I'm not an expert.
I'm not sure.
Grog.
Oh,
It's gonna be Blake or Mitch.
nah. He'd be Pato something or other.
Oh. Well, who knows about Grog then? Oh, Logan's dropped out.
I'm still
no,
here.
still there.
Oh, well, your video is frozen for me now. Okay. Anyway, we'll get back to questions.
Actually talking.
Yeah, instead of talking
Too
about
easily
the internet.
distracted.
Yeah. So,
Well, I guess what's your 4 or 5 year plan?
I don't know. I don't know what plan is before Christmas yet.
would you ever?
Not properly.
Okay, where would you like to be with drifting in 4 or 5 years?
Uh,
Ideal.
Anything goes.
Probably, I don't know, similar spot to how I am now. Just having fun with it, competing, just
Broke.
doing events.
Still
Yeah,
broke.
broke still. It's sort of probably the biggest thing is the probably if series rules and whatnot stay the same, or if everyone sort of like if the DCA is still going to stay around with the one class thing, or if they go to like a semi-slick class and a normal class, or like if high tech's still around, or even the Drift SA series. Just depends on what's around as to what I do car-wise. But if it sort of stays how it is now, probably not much more to the car than what it is now.
That's it? No aspirations for FD like Greg?
No.
I get my Pro 1 license and then just explore the pits at every event.
You can take over Robbie Nishida's job of doing the pit interviews.
Yeah, just as one of the drivers.
No, I don't know. If I had the budget for it, maybe do an overseas event. But apart from that, probably just stay in Australia. Nothing like that. No FD.
Okay.
And you're not hoping that by sitting still that sponsors will land in your lap?
The way I see it so far, I could do more work at work to pay for my own gig as opposed to spend all that time chasing sponsors to pay for it. At the current time, anyway.
Yeah. Logan's the
And-
one person who kills me, though, EG, because he's the dude that's got all these connections in the motorsport community, because he's got some, all these dudes in high up places in rally that he knows, and just, yeah.
Rally guys are like drifting dudes, though. They're all broke too.
Nah, there's got to be at least some with some money.
There are, but they probably have money because they're stingy.
Yeah, they have money because they don't give it to broke drifters like myself.
Yeah, but I'm more mean like guys in the industry as opposed to guys who are racing.
Yeah.
Just get the knee pads out, mate.
No.
So, I think what you're saying is, why not use the support from like big businesses or bigger businesses to help you alleviate some of the costs with drifting? So maybe like wheels, tires, cooling parts.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably more. I think it's sort of rude if I ask.
If you ask.
I think it's rude. I don't. It just feel that's just how I am.
Okay, you mean like asking for a handout rather than sort of proposing a deal to them to say
Earning on merit as opposed to asking for a handout.
Oh, so you want to
Is
have
sort
like
of-
a result or some sort of say, I've got these competitions that I'm
I'd
going to
feel-
enter.
Yeah, I'd feel better if I'd done really well in a series, say, and someone goes, "Oh, well, if you're that good, we'll give you a hand." I'd feel much better about that than going, "Oh, yeah, I'm a sick drifter. Give us some free stuff." I think it's you don't ask like that, but it doesn't feel right as such.
We'll convert you eventually, but yeah, like everything needs to be done through a proper proposal with proper sort of all that contract stuff done properly, not just risking
No.
screwing over a sponsor, especially if it's somebody who you're close to because family's known them through the industry for a long time. But I think you would hope that the fact that you've got a fairly marketable car. Everybody says, "Oh, it's all about the new chassis," but I think the problem with drifting is that a lot of the new chassis aren't all that easy to do modifications to, but you have the advantage of having not a traditional chassis, but an old school cool chassis, and it's sort of, if you look at it like your muscle car masters, where everybody's like, "Oh, that's cool." Where if somebody was to go out and drive in Muscle Car Masters in like a VX Commodore, they're going to be like, oh, that's not that cool, that muscle car, where yours is unique compared to being S13, S14, S15, 33 Skyline, 32 Skyline, all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
Somebody's asked, have you ever thought about using a Datsun 1600?
Yes, but that's a similar argument to if I had a really big budget and I was to build a car, I'd build a S15. But the issue with me building a Silvia or say a Datsun 1600 is the price to get one in the first place. Like, if I was to get a Datsun 1600, a average shell that's just a roller is probably, if you're lucky, $5,000, and that's still got a fair bit of rust in it.
Yeah, Jesus.
Whereas 120Ys, $500 can get you a pretty damn good one that rolls.
And that's almost comparable to an S chassis because you can get them for about $1,000 to $1,500 compared to paying that sort of money.
Yeah, like a 1600, like a 120Y is by no means a good looking car. Like my one might look alright with the flares and the wing and the wheels and whatever on it and the wrap. But a 1600 is a better looking car. So is a Silvia. But it's, yeah, my shell cost me a 4-pack of cruisers to a mate who had it there. Whereas no one with a Silvia is going to let one go for cheap because they're just naturally worth more than that because they're not a old, ugly shit box.
But if you found a Silvia that was $1,000, you wouldn't jump on it?
Yes and no.
He's broke, mate. Let's just keep him on track.
If I had the money, I would.
Okay.
But, yeah. And one argument, too, is anyone can build a Silvia. Not everyone's going to build a Datsun and drift it.
No.
Provided you use that leverage to, help yourself.
Yeah, not knowing actually how to help myself is probably half of my issue.
We'll get you there, mate. We'll get you there.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it just seems like a shame that you don't sort of take advantage of your unique setup, I guess. And even if you don't approach some of your existing contacts, but maybe some other companies just for assistance, like you don't even need a handout, you don't need to ask for free stuff, but just say like wholesale prices, even just to make things more affordable.
Yeah. Well, the guys that help me out now, that's sort of what it is. It's more just helping make it all cheaper. It's not free, or if it is, it's not really. It's not a money sum. It's like maybe one or two things for free here, or like a favour here or there, or things at cost price. It's not as such free stuff, which all help in making run the car and preparation. It all makes it cheaper, but it's still motorsport, so it's still going to be expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think you should take advantage of it anyway, and then see what, send a few proposals out and see what you end up with. Like, I guess you'd probably start off small and then see how you go, rather than trying to ask for a fully sponsored year.
Yeah.
I honestly think that the position you're in is a lot better than 98% of the guys who are out there driving, purely from the fact that you are in a chassis that would potentially tug at the heartstrings of some older dudes who own companies or sort of look over those sort of sponsorship proposals compared to, some dude in a matte chrome Silvia or something like that that's pretty generic and got the Hoon reputation on it, where a 120Y is a Hoon car from when Hooning was okay.
Yeah. The biggest comment I get about the car is either my dad used to have one of these, or I learnt to drive in one, or it was a paddock basher, and it's always from older dudes.
Hey, and they've had time in life to earn some money, so ask them for some.
Yeah. Got to work out how to do that properly first.
Just as I said, just get the knee pads. Question from Chris in the 1-tonner. He said, how much work would it be to put a wider tyre on it? I know for DCA you can't run anything bigger than a 195, and even at the SA State Series, but just say for whatever reason you turbocharged the car and went to do a World Time Attack, would you be able to run something like a 235 or a 245 under the back?
Not a 245. I could probably get away with a 225 on the wheels that I've got, but it'd just rip the rear flares off it. So I'd have to just go a bigger flare. That's it.
Yeah, but there's plenty of clearance sort of there for that.
Yeah, just I can't really go much higher in the profile of it.
Yeah. Do you remember I can't remember what Luke ran last year on the E86, but he ran some meaty tyres on that thing in a semi.
60s, I think he ran on the back in a 15.
Yeah, they looked big.
Were they wide?
Big
they
for
were
that
really
car.
big.
They looked big.
Yeah, they looked huge. Like, if I was to guess, it was like 245 or something.
No, they weren't that big.
They look really like balloony, but I don't think they were that. I don't think they were. Yeah, with a big profile, 60 profile, but yeah,
I think he ran like 8 psi hot or something stupid.
Yeah, but you'd be able to fit something like that under yours.
Not as tall, but definitely as wide.
Yeah, just raise the back, mate.
No, it's not really adjustable in the rear, height-wise.
Don't you have that whole rear clip so you could just undo the rivets and just lift the whole back of the car up?
It's a little bit different. Door gap goes skewy when you do that.
That's all right. Most of the people going out to these events are a bit cockeyed anyway. And the judges.
Well, some judges aren't. Some judges see where you stuff up and they mark you down for it.
I think me just getting on track for some of them is just classified as stuff up.
I'd agree.
Isn't that right, EG?
Yeah, no.
He's just like, I ain't gonna say nothing.
No. Nah.
No reaction.
Next question.
Rude. I'm just offended. My co-host should be just throwing me the W's everywhere, but I just get the L's instead. So, occasionally in our little group chat that we've still got going from the guys who helped with Super Drift last year, we talk about people not knowing old school cars. But even as a youngster that you are, you're pretty well up on a lot of the Australian professional drift history. I know you said that, Dad used to take his car out to Oran Park, but how early sort of do you remember, and how much sort of early drifting from Australia did you watch?
Like Bo Yates in a Subaru early.
Oh, wow. That was ages ago. That was before I started drifting.
Yeah, and like, who else? Like Bulger in the Kappa Ute.
Yeah. I was there when I started drifting.
Yeah. Who else was there?
What was Ferd's driving at the time? 180? S14?
Yeah, like the
S15?
Yeah, I can remember his 180 with the 13 front and like the Goldie colour that it used to be, and then the 15 front. Also,
Darren Appleton.
yeah, like Team Peer. Who else was there?
Look at
I
these
can't
young.
remember the name, but I remember all the cars.
Leighton Fine.
So, was
Yeah,
your dad
well,
taking you out to Drift Australia events as well?
not to competitions, but like the Friday nights at like Oran Park they used to have. Every now and then they used to have a bit of a competition there.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the night they'd have competitions or something there.
Yeah. I think Alexi judged them.
Yeah.
Was one of the judges, and then it should have been people like Billick, Pembury,
Mitch Jeffrey.
yeah, was he there? I can't actually remember.
Yeah, he was.
I remember him at
Remember-
OP North. But
Oh, you're talking. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not.
Jarek. I actually never went to one of those. I just sort of saw them on videos and through magazines afterwards.
Yeah, Dad used to get us the Drift Battle magazines when they were still out, and also we did have a couple Drift Australia DVDs, and like the I think when the Monkhouses drove also.
Yep.
Or
Yeah.
so customers of yours now? One is.
One is Jack. One crazy person.
Sends cars into trees.
Yeah. Probably the only dude ever, I think, in one DVD. I think the Drifters Unleashed DVD that I think Andrew Hawkins filmed.
Yeah.
The
skid pan.
Said is it? No, there was at Iron Park. They did like a car park challenge thing as well. And also when Jack eventually built a Sylvia rally car, they reckon he's the only one stupid enough to drift an Evo and rally a Sylvia. It's supposed to be the other way around.
I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah, but the rally rules changed so that you had to run a two-wheel drive platform, well,
Yeah,
front drive or rear drive. So
yeah, and he ran that when he could, and then I think he did a promotional thing with Scouts South Australia at a rally, and it had a big crash and burnt to the ground.
So with somebody like him, sort of, I guess, in your life, would the sort of thing that he's doing as a day-to-day job be something that would ever interest you to go as a professional driver?
After the stories that happened, well, with his job also, he organises all the behind the scenes of getting the trucks with all the utes and the jumps and whatever that they do to and from the events, and the hours that he works, probably not. The driving part, yes, but probably not the rest of it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but some of the guys on that. So Jack drives on the highlight. What are they at the moment? The D-Max. He drives on that team and helps organise some of that. Plus, I think he does a little bit with the Australian version of the Monster Trucks, a little bit, or used to anyway.
He'll be at Monster Jam this year also with Australian trucks.
But do the other guys on that team, so they just sort of fly in, fly out when there's events, and then it's up to a couple of other crew members, or are they all sort of on deck with that stuff?
I think it's there's one or two of them. I think they do all of it, and then I think the rest of them fly in, fly out.
Yeah, it'd definitely be a cool experience to get, and seat time is seat time, right?
Yeah, like always being in a car and always being like always got your eye in would definitely help.
My internet connection sucks.
Yeah, Logan's been frozen for a little while. Oh, he's changed positions now.
Well, he's back, I think.
So I can't even tell sometimes if he's talking or if it's dropped out.
Yeah, I know. That's why So if anybody's wondering why we go quiet for a little while, I think all three of us have fairly average internet at this stage. My speeds are good, but I keep getting really weird dropout. So I don't know if it's the router. Logan's is probably because he's from Western Sydney and somebody stole his copper wire, and Edge is on the 4G, so it's probably cloudy in Canberra.
Either that or there's a whole bunch of people downloading porn through 4G because it's a shared connection.
Probably a good chance at 9:40 at night.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's probably peak time, isn't it? All right.
So any topics you sort of want to bring up, Logan, while we've got you on the live streams?
Statements.
If he's
call
alive.
outs.
I think we lost him.
I'm still here.
Answer me a question then, mate.
Probably, like, yeah, and the other thing I could think of talking about would be what Australia needs is like their premiere series, if we were to have a full-on proper series that would be sustainable for people to enter, like other countries have, but obviously we don't have.
Yeah, I think here we've got to get over the whole thing of you've got to be spending a shitload of money for it to be seen as professional, but the only people who see that as professional is the people who are spending a crap load of money, where for your average punter, when they show up to World Time Attack, those guys could be on a restricted tire rule and your average punter would have absolutely no idea, and as long as the battles are close, they couldn't give two shits.
Yeah, but the spec, yeah, you need to make it affordable. So, because with us being a smaller country, we don't have. It's similar issue with the rallying too. We don't have enough people willing to spend the bigger amounts of money to have the current spec car. So you have very small numbers.
Yeah.
But if you were to make the minimum sort of spec needed to compete and be competitive, a much cheaper option, but still look as professional as what spending all the big money on the car and whatnot would be, or having all of that, you could have a series where it would be affordable for people like me to go do a couple of rounds or get some backing and do all the rounds or whatever, as opposed to a series or like one's gone in the past, they sort of die out because people can't keep spending that much money.
So
Yeah.
overall, make it more affordable, but keep a certain standard. So
yeah,
maintain...
making it cheaper to run doesn't need to make it less professional to watch.
Yeah. So and then you'd sacrifice the spec of the car to make it more affordable, but that's all. It's like everything else. So presentation, promotion, everything else would be the same as any other comp around the world, like a professional comp.
Yeah. Like a professional comp doesn't need to be 32,000 horsepower cars on the biggest semi-slick tyre they can fit under their car. Like if you were to make it like basically a tyre rule, which means you don't need as much horsepower, which means it's cheaper, more people will compete if it's easier to be competitive. And then from there, yeah.
So that's the
base. DCA, mate.
Yeah, you start the base.
Yeah. Excluding the whole DCA high-tech thing. It would have to be a separate thing.
Why do you feel like it would have to be separate?
I'm not an angel, but attitudes from both parties are not great, so people won't try it. But if it's a whole other different thing, it's like a neutral ground, like a fresh start as such.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, but there's a lot of people. I guess the three of us have been watching drifting in Australia for a long time, where a lot of people who sort of have come through don't know most of the history, so they're just like, oh, I want to watch comps or I want to drive or whatever, so they sort of just go directly there. Like there are people driving high tech now who don't know how any of that series even started, and they've only been going 6 years, so
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I'm not sure if it's that. It's even the competitors can be really difficult as well. So like they won't come to an event with a correctly prepared car, and then they're sort of allowed into the comp through an exception, just to create numbers, kind of thing. So that sort of thing kind of sucks.
Yeah, but I think at times all series have been guilty. Well, of recent, all series have been guilty of that to try and boost numbers because just numbers haven't been that great.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the idea is that you'd want to make everything more affordable so people can turn up consistently rather than not being capable of attending. And then because those people that turn up consistently can turn up consistently, then the more well presented cars and the well presented drivers and teams would look better than those guys that sort of rock up and go, oh, I'm not going to get a race suit or whatever because I don't have to, so I'm not going to do it. But then when they're competing to get sponsorship or to get recognised, then it will drag those people up because these other guys have a car that's capable, and the driver is capable of presenting themselves well. It'll make everyone else bring their standards up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, who's competing for sponsorship? Nobody's bothering to go and chase it, so you're not really you're not competing.
They're not doing it the right way, but they're definitely.
I was going to say that I mean properly going and actually searching for sponsorship.
I know there are people out there that are putting proposals, but yeah,
look.
There are
at the end of the day,
about both parties, like the actual person who's asking for it and the events they're competing for. They're not. There's not enough information about them because as a sponsor, you look at the event, and if you can't find results or information about previous their events, or like media releases, how much exposure they have and things like that, then it's everyone's just sort of making it bad for them. So I think if there's more support from everyone, and it's easier to support an organization, then it'll make it easier for everything to work better as a whole sort of system. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. But I don't think any series at this stage is doing a good job of any of that, really. It all comes down to what you're doing self-promotion wise. Like this year, I think the driver that I've seen the most of was Troy Lipshinsky, and that was purely because he was putting out his own content, and then Penrite was resharing it as well. So, and I think occasionally even his shares by Penrite then were bumped up through a little bit of sponsorship dollars on Penrite's behalf to try and get it pushed up onto people's Facebook walls and stuff. And that's through doing personal media stuff, not even through what any of the series were doing. So at this stage it all seems pretty personal.
Yeah,
but
that's
even
why if you include other drivers, so if other people in the competition itself and even other sponsors. So if you have multiple, then the whole system sort of builds up and promotes like each other just because they're promoting themselves anyway.
Yeah, of course. And if a driver's well and truly comfortable with their sponsors, then they should be more than willing to say, "Hey, this is how I secured my guys," because nobody's going to bother going to try and undercut somebody with the sponsor that's already in the game. They're going to go look somewhere else, but at least with the right idea for how to go about it. I think that's the biggest issue with most people. So just not sure how to.
That's why I haven't tried anything.
Yeah, just totally unsure.
Yeah.
Would you just say we were to get together 30 dudes who are interested in sitting down with a marketing person on how to chase up sponsorship proposals, and it was going to be $100 or $200 a head to have that market expert sit there and run you through how to do all that sort of stuff? Would it be something that as a driver that would interest you?
Yeah, for sure. Like, you got nothing to lose from it.
$100.
Yeah, but you'd be willing to spend money on it?
You'd lose $100.
No, I'm not talking those marketing scam things, like this is how you get rich type things. I mean, where it's like actual proper mentoring through a person that would be who has done that sort of stuff as a job or whatever. And I think that's where most people don't know where to go. And look, one of the drivers who's driving World Time Attack's been asking me. I've been giving what I think is advice that would make sense to me when he's going and trying to get a little bit. But again, a lot of his knockbacks have been asking at the wrong time of year. Logan, what's the right time of year to ask sponsors for money?
Well, that depends on the series you're doing.
But it doesn't, and this is the problem. They do their budgets around this time of year, and most people don't know that. They do their 2019 budget about now, but the problem is for all our events, we don't have dates.
Yeah, well, that comes back down to the people running the events.
Yeah, and this is where the whole vicious cycle sort of continues on itself. So unless it's personal sponsors or people you who are willing to sort of jump in at the right time, like say like a Dale campaign, really lucky with the guys who look after him. That's personal sponsorship, and they're guys that he knows, and that's why he's being looked after. But for anybody else who's going to actually trying to get corporate sponsorship, if you're not asking at the right time, it doesn't happen. So yeah, it's difficult. And I think that's the information that out there that's lacking, and I'm learning bits and pieces from seeing guys asking me questions or stuff that I've gone to try and search and then been knocked back for the same sort of reasons. And yeah, I think that's sort of information that as a collective should be sort of, if people would seek it out together, then there's not so much everybody going and banging their head against the same wall and then just giving up on it because, it can't be done. Well, clearly everybody's just doing it wrong the same way, but nobody's sharing the information to be like, hey, don't go and bother doing that right now because it's the wrong time of year. But get your stuff together and be ready to try and hit it at this time or whatever. Or let's collectively go and put pressure on, one of the series to get dates to us early enough that we can actually go and ask for help.
One thing too, but if you were to try and gain support to do a big event such as World Time Attack, how do you sell that to a sponsor if you don't know if you got an entry until just before the event?
Yeah, of course. That's another big part, for sure. Like, yeah, and that's why your big names like your Brad Tuies and your Bo Yateses have been in there since really early, so they're pretty secure in knowing that they could sell that to a sponsor and they're basically a shoe-in. But for some of your lower ranked Aussie guys, they're fill-in numbers, so they don't find out until only a couple of months beforehand, and then at that stage, a lot of that you end up having to hustle a whole lot more and send out a whole lot more emails just in hope that somebody will come to the table, or that sponsors you're already working with are willing to put in a little bit extra should the time come that you happen to get into the event.
Yeah.
That was too long of a
Yeah,
sentence,
so-
Greg.
So pretty much work overtime to pay for it
Yeah.
is pretty much the go-to.
Yeah. Well, for now, that's what I think works better than
Yeah, of
using
course.
all the backable time to try and get something.
Because you're pretty much guaranteed income, as opposed to putting all this effort, this work into something, and then submitting the proposal and then getting nothing. That means you spent all this time that you could have been working, and you've come up with nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to life.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So it's more of a tactical sort of way of getting money.
I'm starting to look at it more and more, and I think the right approach to gaining some form of proper, sustainable sponsorship is to be in a group. A team is just more marketable because it guarantees the sponsor that if there's a car down, it's like you just look at whenever it's multiple cars, more companies start to look at them. Hit and Run had the Falcon deal. Falcon deal has moved across to the Drift
DSA,
School guys
yeah.
now. The Kurtz guys have got a little bit of a deal with Good Ride. I would think that the Gravy guys and all those guys up in Queensland sort of have, they've just got a better reach. So when there's cars off the track, like unless you are really good with Instagram content or content in general, when say my car's broken, what do I put out there? Pictures of my car in the pits 15 times, or the same useless crappy video where at least if you're in a group, there is at least somebody from that group driving at some event.
Yeah, but that's
only a couple of weeks apart.
That's breaking up the money that you would earn through the sponsorship then. So you'd have to share
breaking up $1 between 4 people is still better than breaking up 0 with 1.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if you get 1-to-1, then that's better. I mean, that's what some people see is like you get more money being by yourself.
Yeah, but again, 0 into 1 is still 0.
Yeah, just don't break. Just don't drive a Greg Spec car.
You guys are so rude to me. Yeah, so I don't know. There's no magic bullet at this stage, and I think all we can do is get better and drive, and then pray that one day, people get their shit together.
Greg.
All right. Well, I think we're 2 hours into this, so it's probably time to stop picking on Greg.
But some people listen just for that, so just covering that crowd of people. Me.
Did you go back and listen? It's just abuse me.
That's why I'm actually in this thing, just to abuse Greg. That's it.
I'm okay with that. Hey, how was Monday, by the way, mate? We haven't really spoken about that.
Revolution? Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It was actually a pretty decent turnout. What's his name? Mitch Sanders turned up as well.
Which car was he in? The Beamer?
Yeah, the Beamer.
And it survived the day?
I don't know. He was behind
Did
me.
it chuck a leg?
I went up behind. The only time I noticed him was when I was behind Jabbit and and then Mitch Sanders behind me. Otherwise, I don't remember the Beamer. Besides that, some other people asked if he was here, and I said I don't know, I didn't see him. And then actually, that's the only time I paid attention and or like kept an eye out for it, and I saw it. So I'm not sure.
Did you end up driving?
I took a friend's car for a few laps, but it had a lot of boost leaks, like probably 50, I think, at a guess. Rough guess, 50 boost leaks. It was really bad.
What? I didn't realize boost leaks is a number. Is it?
Well, I think every hose that had vacuum running through it had a crack in it. So I'm just gonna say 50. It's probably not 50. It's more like 18 or something. But
Nothing like hose with cracks in them.
Cameron Moat was out there too. He Moat and Jabbit together was really cool to watch. And same with Ferds and Jimmy, but Jimmy had issues with his car and something happened to the S14 of Ferds, and they were like going in hard into short course, and then Jimmy's car stopped running or something. I don't know what happened, but and then Ferds was like almost crashed into him, and I think I spoke to him a bit later, and he said it was a fuel pump was seemed a bit dodgy. So I said just suggested going into town and get a fuel pump from Repco if they've got one. They probably didn't get one, so they left pretty early. I think probably I saw them at lunch, and I think they were going to pack up after that. So yeah, a bit unfortunate. Otherwise,
I suppose there was a couple of noise complaints, but
yeah, really crazy S15 V8 twin turbo. The back of the turbo was just pointing up and out of the bonnet, and that was it. So yeah, and there was a few other guys actually had to send them home. Well, they couldn't drive because it was way too noisy, so they just said, "Yeah, you got to pack up and go." So
even running short course.
Yeah, like they were too noisy. They were way too noisy. So I think they understood, so that's why they left. So, which is alright. I'm pretty sure that the Revo guys took care of them anyway. So, but I don't know, but yeah, I have a feeling that because they're nice guys, so they would have probably said, can't really have you running today. You're gonna have to go home. And I'm pretty sure they'd give them another like credit for the next day.
A refund or a credit for the next one.
Yeah. So
and
it's really...
It sounds like it won't be long before they put a sound meter of some variety, or even just the little handheld one like they've got at Archie, and sort of use it on short course, probably with just a ever so slightly higher limit, but
I think
than what what pictures get taken down the end. But yeah,
I think they'll do pit testing, like during scrutineering. So
yeah, so sort of like that's what they do at rally. Just before you drive out onto the track, they get you to rev it just before you go out.
Yeah, so it is it's a big issue for them, because if they get too many breaches, then the day will be shut down. So everyone needs to be mindful. If they think their car's loud, then...
Well, people thought they could be sneaky, because if you just run short course, you don't go anywhere near the sound tower that actually takes a photo of the car.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people were starting to exploit it. But yeah, to show up with car with dump straight out the bonnet is a bit how you going.
Yeah. Yeah, and it carried. I'm pretty sure the noise carried, and still, like, once you get around a short course, if you have this exhaust sticking out the back of it, then it's gonna push the sound meter. So definitely do something about your loud.
Oh, do you reckon it was setting it off even though they're doing short course?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay.
Because some of the pictures
if it did that, then it's bloody loud.
Yeah, some of the pictures were blank. So.
Oh my god! People were setting off the dB meter and weren't even within frame. Okay, now I understand.
Yeah, so they were loud. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why it's pretty much you can't drive here. You need to go home.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, let's not mess up our one main track that we can actually go and drive before Logan actually gets his shit together and goes down there and has a drive.
He's got a muffler, doesn't he? I thought I saw one at Archie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I doubt it. I mean, like before he actually gets his act together and just comes down for a drive.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're all ready for bed at this stage. I think next week we might do Tuesday
Okay.
because I'm on the road to Queensland hopefully Wednesday night.
Yep.
And it's my 30th, so I can always stream from inside the car while I'm driving up, but my internet connection will be about as good as this where it just drops in and out if I was to do that. So
At least you have an excuse for it.
yeah, that's true. So I would imagine next week we'll try and do Tuesday. Been talking to Michael Solomon, who is president of Drifting SA, and they're just waiting to get a few more details on the series before he wants to come on and have a talk, because they're just trying to suss out what they're being forced with cage rules and all that stuff. They keep getting information back from the short chat that I had. They're trying to suss out from AASA what their expectations are, and they're saying half cage with side intrusions, but they haven't established yet whether or not that means factory door bars is okay. But in other series that use AASA, factory door bars have been okay. So he's just trying to collect evidence on that, and then just sort of get a few other details.
Half cage side
and
intrusions. That means like a bar that Troy's
goes
running.
to the floor, I guess.
Is that right?
There'd be one diagonal from like the main hoop bar to the floor in the
Yeah,
footwell.
So that's not
At
too
a
bad.
minimum.
yeah. But there are cars running in high tech that are under AASA that are running a half cage with just factory side intrusion, so
Yeah.
under the same insurance. So hopefully that's enough, because yeah, then people can just buy their AGI roll cages and that sort of thing, and then be good to go with the SA series starting up so soon. So we'll try and get Michael on, and then we shouldn't. Yeah, we're leading into World Time Attack, so we'll see if we can get in contact with some guys who are going to be driving that. And yeah, and then the week after that, I'll have a post QR Matsuri report, and which will involve a lot of pit time, I'm sure. And yeah, then it's World Time Attack straight after that. Shit, big month of October coming up.
Excited, Logan?
What was that?
Are you excited?
Yes and no. Yeah.
You going to be out on the hill with us at World Time Attack?
Maybe. Pretty sure I'm pitting for one of them Irish boys.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so you got the knee pads out for Luke, but he didn't get the knee pads out for sponsors.
Yeah.
You special boy.
Anything for a free pass.
You don't get to see anything though.
Yeah, I know. Good thing they have a live stream, but
Yeah, and if it's hot pitting on the track, you might actually see the track a little bit.
yeah.
Sometimes the live stream can be better as well.
Yeah, or even last year on the hill, everyone had live stream up anyway
Oh, okay.
to watch the replays.
That's all right. Maybe me and Adrian will live stream from the hill.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah.
Adrian can tell everybody how shit they are.
Oh, don't do that again.
Nah, that's going to happen.
I'm gonna do it.
Oh, so I got some insider information. Friday's going to be practice, and then a little bit of practice, and then every driver will do 2 battles within their pool. And then on Saturday, each driver will finish their last battle within their pool, and then it'll go into the final 8, top 4, and the finals.
Was there supposed to be practice on the Thursday night?
Yeah, there's still Thursday practice,
Yeah,
But
okay.
I'm pretty sure they'll run a little bit of practice on Friday still, because you have to pay for practice on Thursday, and then yeah, it'll be everybody will have 2 battles on Friday. So if you want to see your favorite drivers or want to see cars, then Friday's probably the day to be out there to make sure you actually catch a glimpse of everybody. And then, yeah, you'll see everybody's car that's still running at least once. And then after that, it'll just be down to the top 8.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's sign this one off, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Wait, what about Logan's plugs? All his YouTube, Facebook.
Oh yeah, give us a plug.
Instagram
Oh, he's
channels.
been asleep.
I mean,
He's been asleep for half an hour.
No, just Logan Waterhouse Drift on Facebook and Logan Waterhouse on Instagram. Nothing special.
You need to plug any businesses?
Yeah, probably Dad, but he doesn't watch it.
What workshop is it?
Waterhouse.
Waterhouse Performance.
Yeah.
Out at the foot of the mountains in Sydney.
Penrith.
Just you basically drop your car out there and you get it back with no wheels because they get stolen.
No, that's Mount Druitt.
Close enough.
Cool.
Drop it off to us. We take your fuel injection off and give you carbies back.
They send your car straight back to the bloody 60s.
You should do that, Greg. His car actually might make a finishing event then.
You guys are just rude.
Okay.
All right. Well,
All
let's
good?
sign this one off.
Thanks for coming on.
All right.
Yeah.
And we'll see everyone next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me just give me some time to stop this.
Yeah, I'm doing
Yeah, you can do our outro music.
And then next minute we get copyright.